Welcome back into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, producer Stone Shields, behind the scenes for today's live show as we get out of the bye week and into a game against the 49ers in prime time that I am not really looking forward to. We're also getting closer to the NFL trade deadline. Now, Jerry says they're not going to make a trade. Jerry isn't always the most truthful person, and if they get their butts kicked by San Francisco, well, maybe they'll revisit things. So predictions, will Dallas make a trade before the NFL trade deadline? Even if it is an Elianaku-esque trade of a 6th and 7th round swap for a player, will they make one? 1 for yes, 0 for no. I see 35% voting yes, in the pin poll at least. 65% voting no. I'll give some shout-outs here as well. Brent says hell no. Benito says 0. David says 0. C. Clark, Dave, Murdoch all type in there. There's a 1 from Brian Perry. Jacob said no. That means he will because he's not truthful. I like it. Sam says no. Eugene says no. Johnny, Robert, David, yeses. Jacoby Mitchell has a 1. We also have a super chat that's come in from Sam, a $5 super chat. I assume not producer Sam. Can't tell because of the car, though. There's no profile picture there. He says, this game against the 49ers seems like a must-win, in my opinion, to have any sliver of hope for the rest of the season or to at least give momentum. I don't think right now is your must-win game. Because your worst case, you're going to be 3-4. You're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. Now, in terms of like making the playoffs. Now, in terms of being a real competitive team, being more than just a one-and-done, backdoor your way in the postseason, I totally get that. That part makes sense. And from a mentality standpoint, boy, you could use a win. Or at least being competitive against a good team that wasn't a near fourth quarter miracle comeback, which you haven't done yet this year. Because the Browns are bad. Giants are bad. I guess they did it against the Steelers. And Pittsburgh's a good team. But still, you don't feel 3-3. You feel like 2-5 right now. Which puts you in a pretty precarious spot, all things considered. You have to be competitive, you hope, about beating them come playoff time. You can't beat them now when they're super banged up and you're only a 5.5-point dog. Gotta wonder when you're going to be able to do it. So back to the pin poll. Will the Cowboys make a trade before the trade deadline? 65% voting no. I think you could get a trade, but I don't think it's going to be a big, splashy, sexy one. I think they're down the barrel of we flipped day 3 picks and got somebody who was going to get cut. That's kind of what I could see this team doing, which maybe defensive tackle and running back actually would be an upgrade for you. So will Dallas make a trade before the NFL trade deadline? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. Over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It is the best way to get in on action in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. They invented the flex play, which means if you get one wrong, you can still come out on top. They also do a little, I call it free squares. It's the Anthony Edwards half a point. It's an easy more than right there. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS to download the app today and use code CLNS to get that $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. Speaking of that Niners game, there is a chance, by no means guaranteed, but a chance nonetheless, that Micah Parsons is able to play. So will he be out there? Will he be able to give it a go? Y for yes, N for no. We'll break down some of the answers here in just a second. I wish I could get Israel Banacanda, the wealth coach. I love that. Brings you speed, brings you juice. They probably like him and still want to keep him, would be my guess. But I would call. Got to call. They don't like calling people. Clark, William, Jesse all say no. Yeses from Turd, Norman, Brian, Brendan, Campbell, Roy Williams says yes. Jeff says yes. Dave's got a yes in there. I think there's a chance he plays. He just might end up being like on a pitch count, though. He might not be a full 100% snap count guy, which probably means less early down run stuff and third downs get him out of there. But you also wonder if you're going to be in enough third downs to put him out there with the way your defense played this year. So, will Micah Parsons play against the Niners? Y for yes, N for no. Renee says yes. Richard says no. David says yes. Jalen says no. Richard says no as well. This is like the earliest window that's remotely feasible. Even this is like, maybe you're kind of at like 3.5 weeks for a normal 4 to 6 weeks injury time frame. So, Y for yes, N for no. Will Micah Parsons play against the 49ers? Y or M. This is today's super chat menu as well. $20 for a shot. $50, I'll do the beer bong. Got the flag game tonight, so I'm not trying to do a ton of those, but it's up to you guys. $300, I get to be the Strawberry Pop-Tart Bowl game mascot for Halloween. I'll wear it during the Cowboys-Niners game. I will do it. $500 is a custom Cowboys jersey. The most hundreds in October, by the way, gets the MVP jersey. Anthony McMillan has a pretty big lead at this time. A $5 super chat from Tan Fam. Call me delusional. I think we're getting bad games from Dak early in the year, so he should be much better from now on. I think what you're basically saying is you're optimistic that Dak's going to right the ship and look more like the guy we've seen for the majority of his NFL career. That's fine. I don't think you're saying that he did it on purpose, which, to be clear, obviously not the case. My hope is that it kind of looks like what happened last year, because the numbers for Dak and Lamb before the bye last year were pretty similar, actually. They weren't that far off from what they are right now, which is A, positive. Okay, they can fix it. B, why did they get away from the stuff that worked last year? It brings me pause and concern there. So I think he can right the ship, but I do think even for Dak and Lamb and the pieces you like on offense or defense, there's a lot of things that are not going right, and I'm not sure they're big enough equalizers in that regard to balance out the offensive line, the schematics, the other non-Lamb receivers. Jake Ferguson hasn't made a guy miss all year long. That's a concern. The ground game's bad. It's like kind of all of those things might be a little bit too much. If you can fix a couple things plus that, it can look a little bit better. From Sam, what's your opinion on Troy's comments the other day? I mean, I think he's right, at least to an extent. You know, McCarthy kind of dismissed them, but also kind of said, yeah, I don't agree with the language, but improvement's needed. So we're kind of on the same page there. I think part of it is a schematic thing. The route concepts, I don't think blend that well together, and I think that's a negative for the wide receiver core. Ecuador man, Niners are mad and hungry. Bad news for the Cowboys. See, here's the thing. If they'd won the game, it would have been the Niners are peaking at the right time in time to beat the Cowboys. They just beat San Francisco. Or they just beat Kansas City. Niners are banged up. They own you until further notice. That is what it is. I don't like saying it, but it's true. So I think a banged up Niners team that maybe is a little bit more desperate than you are. There's a reason why I think most people in the comments are going to type in 4 for who you got here. C for the Cowboys, 4 for the 49ers. Like, I have my doubts. Like, until I see them beat this Niners team, even as banged up as San Francisco is and as healthier as you may be getting with Bland and Kendricks and maybe Micah back, I have to see it first. I have to see it first. Because this Cowboys team should be mad and hungry too. They're not going to be because we don't trust them to do it. Like, until I see them beat this iteration of the Dallas Cowboys, beat that iteration of the Niners, and there's different pieces, etc., but it's close enough to the cores, led by your coaching staffs in particular, I don't think it's going to happen. I have very real doubts about that. Who do you got? C for the Cowboys, 4 for the 49ers. I think Brandon J sums it up well. If there's any time to beat them, it's now, but I doubt it'll happen. So it's not about the obviously we're talking about like these versions. Recent history. Not all time. There's plenty of all-time moments for the Cowboys. Like, this quarterback has beaten them before. Just was a very long time ago, and that can't be ignored. So, who do you got? C for the Cowboys, 4 for the 49ers. Now, if you are ready for us to start today's live show, then like the video as I crack my neck real loud. Didn't help as much as I was hoping it was going to. I don't know if you heard it or not, but there we go. If you're ready to start today's live stream, then like the video for me. We got a pretty big gap between the live audience and the like number there. So like the video if you haven't already done so. And coming up on today's live show, we'll break down some Cowboys news and rumors. I want to talk about the Alvin Kamara stuff. Too many people got by someone that shouldn't have gotten you got. Call it what it was. But there is some overall conversation stuff that we can have about Kamara in the backfield. More Cowboys trade rumors, a mailbag, 2 ways to get on the show, hashtag Cowboys or skip that line altogether and super chat. And we'll preview Cowboys versus 49ers. All come up live here on the Cowboys Report. We're in a sub-battle this week against the 49ers, and we might not be able to beat them on the field, but we can take care of business off the field. See how I phrased that to avoid being weird? Hit that sub button. Let's make sure we take down the Niners in subs gained this week. It's all free when you guys subscribe. Let's go to Alvin Kamara, the trade rumors. So what happened here over the weekend, basically, was thanks to media speculation and then also outright fraudulent reports that were totally fake and never true to begin with, there was a lot of Alvin Kamara Cowboys conversation. RG3, CBS Sports, other outlets, etc., said, well, maybe Dallas should call the Saints about Alvin Kamara since the Cowboys lost the Saints and that one Broncos loss against the Cowboys years ago are the exact same picture, and the other team is now terrible. Saints are falling apart here. Well, then it got out of hand because the original tweet came from whatever Football Fanatics is, some fake fantasy account, said Alvin Kamara has requested a trade from the Saints and several teams have contacted him. Our sources, of which they do not exist, said that the Cowboys, Bills, Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Bengals, and Ravens, the Ravens was your first clue that this was fake, by the way. They have Derrick Henry, not going after Alvin Kamara. Saints won a 3rd-round pick or better in a pick swap. That was the claim. Now, versions of that exact tweet went viral. And I do say versions because the one that really went viral was from a different fantasy person who straight up copy-pasted the whole damn thing. Internet's a bad place to be sometimes. They were all fake. None of those reports were true. The one guy even put an Adam Schefter photo on top of it. Like it was a previously used Adam Schefter, Alvin Kamara breaking news photo with the copy-paste tweet from somebody else. Obviously, Schefter never said that. Never came out of his mouth. He did not say that Kamara demanded a trade. And then Alvin Kamara called that guy out, and then the guy deleted the tweet. And now act like nothing happened because he got stealing stuff. That was a lie, which is like the double whammy of all double whammies as far as I'm concerned. Now, the general Alvin Kamara trade stuff does make some sense. That's why CBS Sports mentioned it. It's why RG3 mentioned it. It's why Dallas keeps getting linked because their backfield's bad. Rico Dowdle's been, I think, what most of us thought Rico Dowdle was going to be. Zeke Elliott and Deuce Vaughn, from a negative standpoint, what we feared they were going to be, which is not very impactful. And Lipke is kind of like a weird H-back hybrid running back who's not really a full-time back either. So we'll spend some more time on Kamara here. But would you pursue him in a trade if he were available? I'm not sure that's actually viable, but I want to have the general topic conversation here as well. Y for yes, N for no. Would you pursue Alvin Kamara? Go vote at the pinned comment of today's show. There are some issues here beyond the is it even doable and is it even true of the reporting, right? The first issue here is the cost involved. And that goes for both the contract cost, we'll get to here in a second, and also the trade compensation cost. Two things that the Cowboys always seem to find their way into having issues with. Now, Kamara this year is due a prorated $11.7 million. Now, that figure, it's not the full 11.7. It's about half of it because it's the prorated figure, what he's already been paid by the Saints over the regular season. So let's just conservatively round and say he's due about $6 million. It's doable for a team. That is $21 million in salary cap space. Now, Alvin Kamara is a rental. He has a $25 million base salary in 2025, which he's not going to see. He is going to get cut. The Saints never did it to pay him that amount of money. That's why he wanted a big contract in the offseason and didn't get one because, well, teams don't like paying soon-to-be 30-year-old backs who have not been as productive as they were in the peak of their primes. The Cowboys, with this iteration of the organization, with this team, they don't want to spend assets. They don't want to trade and spend future cap space. They're going to roll it over this year. They're going to roll over that $6 million, but they pay Alvin. They count it for next season, and they want their picks. I also don't know what pick the Saints would even want. If they were truly shopping because they're going to cut him, it kind of becomes a best offer is all we're going to accept because we can't get a comp pick back for him. So it's a little bit complicated for a team that maybe doesn't want to bail on the season and maybe wants to give Spencer Rattler his number one back to see what Rattler's able to do until Derek Carr can return. So there is a lot of complications on that front. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. You can run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It is available in over 30 states, including California, Georgia, Florida, and Texas. It is also the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. So your lineups stay in play even if one of your guys gets injured. If a player goes down the first half, doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. They do little free squares, I call them. For example, return to basketball, they got Anthony Edwards more than a half point. That's a no-brainer. I'm going to steal my boy Chugs' picks this week. He's got Alperen Sengun more than 30.5 points and boards. The recently extended Jalen Green more than 21 points as well. Sign up today. Download the app, prizepicks.com/CLNS, and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to get that $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. The second issue you run into here with Alvin Kamara, because we're not done yet, is the player worth it? What the money is going to be and what the trade compensation is going to be. It, in a way, depends on which version of Alvin Kamara do I end up getting. Which version of Kamara arrives in my organization? Is it the dynamic, explosive play getting one, or the guy that hasn't been the same over the last couple of seasons? His statistical output has not been particularly great. So trying to figure out which Kamara I'm getting is kind of important. You can look at his numbers over the last several seasons, and also, as we're going to do here in a second, more nitty-gritty over this campaign. Kamara, the last 4 years, not including 2024, has had 1 year of better than 4.1 yards per carry. Now, remember last year he was that check down machine in a bad Saints offense. He was a PPR fantasy dream. The 2020 version, I haven't seen consistently in 3 years now. And the numbers this year, look, they have come crashing back down. Under 4 yards per carry. Longest 17. He's got a bunch of touchdowns. The issue is the guy we saw against us and the guy we've seen since then haven't been that great. The first 2 games against the Panthers and the Cowboys, 35 carries, 198 yards, 7 catches, 92 yards, 5 total scores. He was averaging 5.7 yards per carry. The last 5 games, on 32 more carries, he's got a grand total of 6 extra yards on the ground, a lot more catches, but not really great efficiency there either. His yards per carry have plummeted from 5.7 to 3.2. I don't necessarily need another 4 yard per carry back. Mostly because I am unconvinced this offensive line and this scheme is good enough to be able to put my backs in the best position to succeed. Is he an upgrade over Zeke, Deuce Vaughn, etc.? Yeah. He can actually do stuff for me. He can make some guys miss. but I don't think he's the same guy we saw against us. I think that game was kind of more of an outlier in the end. His yards after contact, by the way, is actually behind Rico Dowdle, which is concerning since I fully anticipate having to see a bunch of Cowboys running backs running around for their lives and not having great blocking up front. So in general, do the Cowboys need another back? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Sound off in the comment section of today's video. 1 for yes, 0 for no. The third issue you face is this. It's the Jones boys' egos. That's Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones. Because remember, this front office, these decision makers are adamant you don't need a running back. This is what Jerry Jones did previously this year, and the results not really changed, by the way. He says, I don't have anybody else in the world asking me about this, but some media. A few of you have gotten out here and written some stories about how we're going to go with a running back in the draft, or we need a running back, and they're trying to cover their you-know-what as we go through the season. Look, by the way, that was the most obvious projection ever of Jerry just not wanting to admit that they needed a back, and he doesn't want to admit it. In conclusion, don't get your hopes up here. It might not even be the worst thing if you miss out on him. Maybe he's a free agent. We can revisit that conversation again. But I also just wonder if this schematic on offensive line blocking is enough to have a player like Kamara thrive the way that he maybe would elsewhere. Let's talk injury news here on today's show as well. First up, Micah Parsons. He spent the bye week in Dallas getting rehab done, hopefully to play against the 49ers. Mike McCarthy asked about it at his press conference today, said he's doing good. He was in here every day. Micah's making progress. It is still a question mark. It is still uncertain if Micah is going to be able to go and play and gut it out against the Niners. He says he's going to try. Micah Parsons did. He's mentioned it a little bit before we went live on today's show. He made the comment that he's going to try. He's doing everything he can. He's been working hard. Not up to him. It's up to the training staff, the coaches. It's all fine, all valid. There is no guarantee that Micah Parsons is able to play against the 49ers. It is about as early as possible in that normal 4 to 6 week window. It's kind of like 3.5 weeks. But there is a chance. There is a chance he's able to go and play. Now, Cowboys miss him. Even if he does play, this might be more of a pitch count, limited rotation type of deal because he just might not be 100%. The bye came at a decent time for Micah, and others we'll get to here in a second, but I think it's 50-50 at best he's able to play. So will Micah Parsons play versus the 49ers? P for play, S for sits. Let me know in the comments of today's show. A couple other injuries to note here. Eric Kendricks. Mike was kind of vague on him. He has the calf and shoulder injuries that caused him to miss week 6. In theory, the bye is beneficial. Mike did the whole we'll see if he's able to go, and then we'll see all week long, and then he just never even practiced. We'll know more Wednesday and Thursday. If Kendricks can't practice Thursday, it's bad sign. It's a bad sign. If I had to guess, though, I do think you get Daron Bland back. I do think you see Bland back and out there and active and playing. I think he was close last week. Cowboys played it a bit conservative. Probably was the right call because he wouldn't have stopped you from getting your butts kicked like the Lions. No 3-player combination, I think, would have been enough in the end. So in theory, Bland comes back. Diggs is back out there. Jordan Lewis is back out there. And then somebody ends up going on IR or is released, whether that's Kalen Carson or Andrew Booth. Someone has to go on out of the active roster to make room for Daron Bland. Be honest with me, folks. What is your confidence level in the Cowboys beating the 49ers? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. Let me know in the comments of today's show. I'm going to sip some of my water. We'll get to some super chats here as well. There we go. Confidence level in the Cowboys beating the 49ers. We did get that one already, yes. Brandon Patton, how did you feel we drafted Whit Weeks? I don't think he's eligible. I'm pretty sure he's a true sophomore. That is the LSU linebacker. Something tells me you're going to do your classic second-round injured pick on Harold Perkins out of LSU. That would be very on brand for Dallas. But I'm pretty sure Weeks is a sophomore, so file that question until this time next year. How about that? Max Finnegan, I need a shot for this one too, by the way, if you can go grab it for me. Thank you, Stone. Fun question. If Jerry was only their GM and not the owner, what years would he have been fired? I think 99, 02, 10, 13, 19. After this year in 2024, a real owner would have fired him. Yeah, it's very funny to see Jerry constantly ask, like, well, what about all the good things I did? Because if that's all fine and true, Jerry, but Max is right. You would have been fired multiple times already. You would not have made it all the way to this campaign because the GM, the owner, would have fired the GM. It would have happened. They obviously would have kept him through the early campaigns, like maybe 99, maybe not. That might have been the, hey, we're only a couple years removed from a Super Bowl. We'll let you pick another head coach. I think he, though, definitely would have been fired. Maybe not even in 2002. Maybe before then. Maybe a little bit earlier he would have gotten canned then. They would have made it through most of the Bill Parcells era. He would have gone out the door. Probably with the Jason Garrett, Wade Phillips combination. Replacements. He would have gone out the door at the end of the Garrett tenure as well. Maybe after a couple of those 3 8-8 seasons, they would have pulled the trigger there too. So, yeah, he would have been fired multiple times. But he's also the owner, so it ends up not working out quite that way, which is frustrating. Super Chat menu is this. $20 for a shot, $50 for the beer bong, $300 the Pop-Tart Halloween costume. I get to wear that, and we'll make it a raffle item as well. I think we can do that. $500 the custom Cowboys jersey, and the most hundreds in October gets the MVP jersey. There we go. Appreciate all the super chats that have come in. Let's get set up here for the next segment of today's show. Today's Cowboys Report is made possible by Rhone. I'm rocking one of their polos, and you should too. Use code CHATSPORTS. Save 20% off at Rhone.com/chatsports. Before we get into some trade rumors out there, both away and for targets, so targets and candidates, will Dallas make any trade before the NFL trade deadline? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Let's talk Travis Etienne, since this one is very much back in the maybe filed under more hope than real feasibility, but I think it is at least worth mentioning part of this conversation here. A big reason why is that Tank Bigsby has absolutely broken out in Jacksonville. He has gone from looking like a terrible draft pick out of Auburn, being unplayable, to he leads the NFL in yards per carries. A flip just like that. It's been very impressive for him. I'm happy for the kid. Etienne, meanwhile, hasn't actually been bad, but has kind of been usurped in part because of injuries that we'll talk about here in favor of Bigsby. Bigsby's numbers this year are good. Etienne's numbers are good too, but Bigsby's numbers are just significantly better than what he's been able to put together so far this campaign. Etienne does offer some good pass-catching value so far this season. And it's very funny. Bigsby's not being used at all in the receiving game. Etienne's got 91 yards through the air, a bit down from what it was last season. His efficiency has actually dropped again. But he's been a little bit better, Bigsby, as a runner. In fact, so many big plays from Bigsby. Now, Etienne was a 5.1 yard per carry guy in 2022, was 3.8 last year, not particularly great, and is above 4, almost at 4.2 this year. The shoulder injury, I think, has limited him a little bit, which we will talk about in this video, because I think that is a undervalued conversation point that needs to be addressed. I think if you got a straw poll of every coach, GM in the NFL, like watches offense and watches backs, not like, the linebackers coach or maybe the tight ends coach who's not paying attention. I think you'd get 90+% in favor of Etienne would be the best back on this Dallas Cowboys roster. That's what I think from a straw poll perspective. So would you trade for Travis Etienne if he is available, which is a big if? Y for yes, N for no. It is the pinned comment on this video. The outcomes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know Y or N. I think a player like Etienne piques my interest a little bit more than some of the other potentially available backs. And there's a couple different reasons for that we'll get into. One of which is I crave explosive plays out of my backfield. I want guys who can turn a 5-yard gain into a 15-yard gain, a 10-yard gain into a 25-yard gain. I want the big chunk plays that I don't see this running back room ever get and haven't got consistently in a while, which isn't just a backfield thing, but got to have the speed for it. And Etienne does offer that. He's a 4.45 speed guy. He has explosive playability. He is athletic. He is fast. Etienne, meanwhile, the advanced stats have dropped a little bit from the last time we did this. But he's still above average in rush yards over expected. The yards per carry isn't great, but he is pretty high in yards after contact. He's top 10 there, which indicates it's an O-line issue. Explosive plays, he hasn't played in basically 2 weeks, so that hasn't changed and has gone down relative to the rest of the NFL. The success rate is higher than what you're accustomed to. Now, those numbers were higher before his shoulder injury, which I think has bothered him. Then he pulled his hamstring. He was consistently top 10, top 15 in those metrics we just showed you before the injury. That said, the injuries are a very valid concern. You have to consider that because he's been banged up a lot over the course of his NFL career. That cannot and should not be overlooked when it comes to a potential trade because hurt guys don't always end up getting healthy all of a sudden for you. Now, the bright side of why I'm intrigued here is he is under contract next year. He gives me some flexibility there. He isn't just a rental because I don't know if you want a rental at this point. Now, he's due $2.42 million this year. It's a prorated figure, so it's almost the vet minimum at this point. The 2025 salary is $6 million. It is his fifth-year option. It is guaranteed. It's kind of like the Trey Lance thing. Then he's a free agent. That's not that much investment. So, and I'm being kind of cheeky on my side here. Can I get him for a day 3 pick? I've got all those extra 5s and 6s. Can I send one for Travis Etienne? Maybe, maybe not. But that's kind of what I would be trying to do if I were the actual Cowboys. Now, today's show is made possible by Rhone. Look, fall needs its own wardrobe for comfortable and coordinated pieces for a layered look with perspective. You need that warmth, and it's still extra breathable. Starchy, stiff workwear is brutal for you as the calendar turns into October, November, and December. Rhone delivers. Seasons change, we change, and men's closets have changed too. The Rhone Commuter Collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and truly versatile set of products known to man. They have premium pieces to elevate every occasion. Both the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, polos, and blazers, all booze with functional performance properties. Rhone's signature technical fabrics stretch in every direction, breathe, fight odor and the elements, and effortlessly work everywhere so you can stay calm, collected, even when life takes unexpected turns. Get unparalleled confidence without all the hassle. Every piece in Rhone's Commuter Collection is made to coordinate and layer for an instantly elevated look. It is also 100% machine washable and features wrinkle release technology. That's why I wear it in as much as I can on air because it's super comfortable. The Commuter Collection gets you through any workday and right into whatever comes next. Head to Rhone.com/chatsports and use promo code CHATSPORTS. Save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS. It's time to embody your most confident self. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Let's talk safeties. Into the starting and others out there, to be fair, so I don't want to just credit/single them out, but I think it's a good conversation, why I'm doing it. Have mentioned maybe you bench or you even trade Malik Hooker/Donovan Wilson. I'm really disappointed by the play of my safeties this year. This was the first time I'm like, I got talent and I got depth. It is a good safety room. It has not been that. It's been actually kind of bad. And I think a good amount of us agree with that. That the play of the safeties has been, among many disappointing things, certainly one of them so far this season. It has not been nearly good enough. And that starts with your two starters, Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson. Hooker has not been impactful. He looks a step slow to me. 2 pass breakups, okay. I think you can watch the film, you can do the analytic grades if you want to say. Play has declined. Donovan Wilson being the splash impact guy, haven't seen much of it of late. Doesn't look like the same impact player. I've seen a lot more missed tackles than I have seen anything else. That's frustrating. Now, you have depth behind them. You have Wanye Thomas, Marquise Bell, and kind of, sort of, Israel Mukuamu, if you want to consider that as well. Now, I think you can play two of these guys, right? Now, I think Wanye Thomas, Malik Hooker are both more free safeties. Marquise Bell, Donovan Wilson are both strong safeties. But pick 2 of these guys to play. Who are you starting at safety? MH for Malik Hooker, MB for Marquise Bell, DW for Donovan Wilson, JT for Wanye Thomas. Pick 2 of those guys to start at safety. Now, I'm down to play my youngsters. Wanye Thomas, I think, is your obvious Malik Hooker replacement. He's played 27 defensive snaps this year. Every time he plays defense, I see good stuff, or at least better stuff. I want to see him out there. I thought Marquise Bell was your best safety / linebacker last season. He's got 23 snaps on defense. Now, he missed time with injury, sure, whatever. I want Marquise Bell out there. I want him to play safety over Donovan Wilson. They're similar-ish play styles, but you know what? If I'm going to be bad at safety, at least let me be young and athletic at safety. Because right now, I'm old and slow. Now, as for trading one of Malik Hooker or Donovan Wilson, as we'll get into, I wouldn't get my hopes up there. That's probably hoping for a little bit too much out of this organization as well. We'll break that down in a second, but if the Cowboys do make a trade, we'll have a video on it. I even went out of town this weekend to try to get the Cowboys to do something. It didn't work. Hit that sub button for more free Cowboys YouTube videos right now. Hooker's now spent 4 years in Dallas, which sounds crazy, right? I feel like it's only been like 2 or something. He's always been the last line of defense, and the results have not been very good in that last defense. I've seen him get beat too much and miss too many tackles and no impact plays. Donovan Wilson, meanwhile, look, that 2020 campaign feels like a very long time ago, right? Even the 2020 campaign, which was good too. Donovan Wilson plays a very high variance brand of football where he's making a big play or allowing a big play. He's allowed a lot more big plays than previous years. That's very frustrating. On the bright side, both of these guys can be moved on from with little to no problems. If the Cowboys release Donovan Wilson, they will save $5.35 million or $7 million after June 1st. Malik Hooker, $3.75 and or $5.75 after June 1st. So you can easily save over $8 million, over $9 million in salary cap space. They can easily do that. So a trade might not happen here. It's a little bit expensive, bad play. NFL teams watch film too. When we're talking about benching guys, you don't always find trade interest in the guys that got benched. But I do think this. Let's play Wanye Thomas and or Marquise Bell. Let's play those young guys who I've seen, frankly, more flashes from compared to what I've seen from Wilson and Hooker so far in the 2024 NFL campaign. Mailbag time. Get on via hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat. Sip some water for myself there. Use that hashtag Cowboys or skip the line altogether to Super Chat. Of note, if you don't use the hashtag Cowboys, Producer Stone cannot find your question. There are too many of them. So then he's just lost in the sauce trying to find it. But those are your options, folks. The hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat is a guarantee to get on the show. Even if you have just like general comments or thoughts that aren't specifically questions, that's fine. You can It is even though it's not therapy week today, it is still plenty of time to get your questions or thoughts in there. Normally on Mondays, it's been therapy hour a lot this year. There's Victory Monday and therapy hour. Been way too many therapy hours there. So. Super chat menu: $20 for a shot, $50 for a beer bong, $300 I get to wear, and we'll raffle off the Pop-Tart Halloween costume. $500 custom Cowboys jersey, and most hundreds in October gets the MVP jersey. I'm laughing at all the Hooker jokes in the comments, which is funny. So, imagine if I bought my wife a Hooker jersey, how bad that would be. It'd be pretty funny. All right, that is today's Super Chat menu. Let's dive into our mailbag. First up from Mr. Man, says, I appreciate you every time you see my name. You mention your daughter and dog. Top 3 moments from your daughter so far. If you don't know, Mr. Man is what my daughter likes to call my dog sometimes. Mr. Man or Mr. Boy. Finn is what he calls him. There's a lot of good moments. There's been a couple of times where she gets very sassy. And like she knows she's getting sassy and responds with something incredibly humorous or just like dismisses stuff outright. Funny one was when we learned that she could unlock doors. And she went outside by herself one day. I was doing laundry in the basement. I hear the back door unlocked. I go, oh boy, run right upstairs. And there she is on the monkey bars by herself. She's very smart and stuff. Fun moment was this weekend when we went hiking. We were like in the forest, and there was like a little swampy moss, and Finn thought it was grass and walked right off and fell into the water. So that was fun. All right, Elite 360. Love the show and all the work you do. Appreciate that, my friend. Thank you very kind. Or thank you very much. Very kind of you to say. That's from Elite 360 on that front. Mr. Getmore187 says thanks as well. Both of these two, or all 3 of these, I should say, came in via Super Thanks, which is a feature here on YouTube that allows you to edit your message, send in whatever it is. It's just like a super chat that's available on demand. So even if it's non-Cowboys, that it's more about just saying thank you or the daughter and dog, we got you covered. Edit your message and send in your super thanks. From Jotman, the Cowboys having 10 picks in this upcoming draft. There are 1 to 6 and then 4 comp picks. How would you use them? Assume the board breaks right for you. How many go on each side of the ball? I'm thinking 2 to 3 on offense, 7 to 8 on defense. I would use free agency to address other needs on offense. See, I would just address everything in free agency. I think this team is at its best drafting-wise when they actually get to go BPA. When they don't have to go defensive end or defensive tackle or offensive tackle, and they don't have to take this position group because they just don't have a viable option right now available. I think they are at their best when they allow themselves to just let the guy that fell to you take him. That was the CeeDee Lamb draft. You just took him. It was a no-brainer. Easy peasy. When that happens, the Cowboys draft well. So look, I'm looking at wide receiver. I'm looking at running back. I'm looking maybe at offensive line. I'm looking at multiple defensive linemen, edges, and DTs. I need multiple players there. Probably need another linebacker. I might need 2 backs, frankly, since everyone's out of a contract. Basically, that's out of Deuce Vaughn Hunter. Lipke, might need safeties, might need a corner. So I would address a lot of my needs and then go, okay, I can take my best player available. And if I have too much talent at receiver, oh no. Like, that's how I would try to do it. Because when the Cowboys do that, they draft pretty well. The Cowboys are a good drafting team. They do a good job relative to the rest of the NFL at drafting. However, they are not good enough, no team is, to only use the draft. You have to do free agency as well. So grade the Cowboys as drafters. A, B, C, D, or F in the comment section of today's show. From We Don't Wife These 304s, could Gruden be the next head coach? No. I think John Gruden's time in the NFL is done. Is it fair? Maybe not. Maybe it is. Maybe he did get railroaded. Very suspicious that none of the other commanders' emails leaked out. That's fine to acknowledge. But he still said that stuff. I think it'd be a terrible hire by Dallas. I don't think you could realistically go that route. JL Channel, that is how it's pronounced, but I still think it flows with the tongue. But it's your name, so I'll call you properly there, Jay. Have you heard anything about them bringing up Dalvin Cook? Cook can't do no worse than Zeke. Look, you're at the point where if you don't do it after the bye, is it ever going to happen? Or is he just bad? Or their politic BS in the way of being unable to do it with anybody else? Like, if this is the week to do it, and I kind of want to do it because I think you'll run more outside zone, and that benefits you as well. You do a better job of that when you're able to run outside zone. So I hope that they do it. I just don't know if they're going to, because the other reality is they just might not be good. He might not be good anymore. Very real concern. Roy Williams. Losing Julius Wood to the Titans hurts even more now that our safeties are terrible. The one I still really hurt, Mrs. Isaiah Land would help you a lot right now. He'd be really helpful to you. But the Cowboys said they had edges last year, and now they don't because they all got hurt, which is, you can't predict it, but still. But yeah, you wouldn't mind having Wood, who hasn't done anything for Tennessee, but he'd look in the preseason at least. Connor Holden, how about a James Conner trade? Connor's going to be a rental here. And I don't know if this team wants to or if they even should be in the market for rental. Is Conner better than what you got? Yes, absolutely. Does trading a fifth-round pick for a guy that's going to be here help you not make the playoffs? That's something you have to consider there. Now, free agency, veteran piece, just still draft somebody? I'm very interested there. So will the Cowboys make a trade? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Get those predictions in for me in the comment section of today's show. Johnny Lopez, then we'll get to Mark's super chat here. Instead of Kamara, why not trade for Jamal Williams instead? I think the reason why you're not interested in Jamal Williams is depends on which one of your backs. How about this? If you want the short yardage back, Jamal Williams can be that guy. But he's never been an efficient, explosive guy. So it comes down to what you're looking for. You know, he's averaged like under 4 yards per carry the last 4 years combined. Like, that's not who he is. He's not an explosive play runner. So if you want that short yardage power back, sure. He can help you there. If you want more explosive plays, which is what I tend to prefer, that's not my guy. Mark, aloha Tom, I disagree with draft. We hit home runs or duds. I would trade Parsons. I think he'll become a locker room issue. We have so many holes. Not a lot of room between duds and home runs, I suppose. But you have found like rotation pieces, right? Like Donovan Wilson, I think fits in that mold. I think Oso Deizua fits in that mold. Guys that can start for you that are not superstars necessarily. And you can look at however you want to judge it. If you do a consistent, scoring system across the NFL, they're a top 5 drafting team. But you can't be top 5 and bottom 5 in free agency. That's how you get so many holes. I think when it comes to Micah, you've got 2 options. Trade him before free agency, get all of those picks, or pay him before free agency and to have more money to spend to get to get more players to fill those holes on your roster. I think either of those plans is fine, but you need to attack it earlier and not let it drag out into August again. That, which I think they're going to do, is going to annoy me to no end. Speaking of the defense here, you can get the Cowboys turnover chain over at chatsports.com/CowboysChain. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. The last time we mentioned the turnover chain, the Cowboys got a takeaway that week. So we're trying to speak it into existence here again. Chatsports.com/CowboysChain. Link will be in the comments and the description of today's show. $20 from Dwayne Jackson. In regards to Dalvin Cook, they should send him to the main roster. It's hardly they can regress in the practice when they know what he is. They are trying to their scheme, and it's something he's not. So I think this is a real issue. If your head coach has said that he views Dalvin as an outside zone runner, and he has called your ground game, quote-unquote, tight inside zone. I called it tight zone as a slanderous comment, and then Mike said, yep, you're right. It blows my mind. If you just try to run Dalvin Cook up the middle, it's not going to work. That's kind of why I want Dalvin Cook out there, because this staff knows he's an outside zone guy. So hopefully if he gets called up, you do more outside zone, right? That's what I'm hoping for. look, now if their conclusion is he's bad in practice, okay, and why is he still on your roster? Go get somebody else. Jesse, why isn't Hunter Lipke our power back? I don't know if they view him as a true runner. I think they view him more as a fullback, which he was kind of a bit of everything at North Dakota State. They will tell you Zeke is the fourth back, or he's the power back, but they don't use him in power back stuff. So, like, honestly, I think there is a disconnect between your front office and coaching staff with how players should be deployed. That's what I think. Brody Jacob, The Athletic mentioned Debo as a trade option. Can Dallas get him? I don't think so. They weren't going to pay for him in the first place. But now that Ayuk's done for the year, they kind of need Debo. They need that receiver. And they were down their top 3 guys against the Chiefs. They should get at least one of them back this week. I would not get my hopes up for a Debo Samuel trade. Now, speaking of trades, sorry to be so negative on these, I guess, and always say, nope, don't get your hopes up, but that's how it's going to go. Name a player who you want to trade for. Let me know in the comments of today's video. For the truth, JC Forever, are there any decent defensive ends out there we could trade for that would not break the bank? I don't know what break the bank means, but I do think that you would be able to get Zadarius Smith that wouldn't be overly expensive. This guy I'd call about. The Jets got Hassan Reddick back, so cross that one off your list. But, like, can I get Josh Uche as a pass rusher? Those are guys I would call about. Now, if you have not already, and make sure you guys are subscribed, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Free Cowboys videos and live mailbags twice a week as well. Marcus Arnold, Jordan Lewis, a free safety. Then who's your nickel? / who is your other outside corner when you got Daron Bland at nickel, I would guess. Is he? Honestly, of your defensive players, like, Jordan Lewis might be your best one this year, which is saying a lot with what you've had on defense. So I kind of don't want to move Jordan Lewis to free safety. Like, at least right now, I think corner is where he can be. I am not opposed to long-term to a Leon Hall-esque change. Remember that one? From corner to safety. That could work because he tackles well. But right now, I'm going to keep him at nickel. Mark, with his slanderous comments, I will hook up with Lizzo before Jerry Jones makes a trade. Appreciate that, Mark. I honestly have no response to that. So I appreciate that one. And we'll just end on that one. There's no better one to end on than Mark. You guys can put your I'll do blank before Jerry Jones makes a trade. Suggestions, ideas, comments in the comments of today's show. The Super Chat menu, $20 for a shot, $50 for the beer bong. $300, I get to wear the Pop-Tart Halloween costume. $500, custom Cowboys jersey. That was for the $20 from Dwayne. Super chat that I did there. So $20 for a shot, $50 for the beer bong, $300 Pop-Tart Halloween costume. From We to Wife, these 304s. I think is the next Cowboys head coach. My nightmare is Witten. My desire has been Johnson. My realistic name is like they do something like Mike Vrabel or Bill Belichick. Which isn't that bad of an outcome. Because I do wonder if Jerry wants a former NFL head coach. And in that case, those pickings get real slim. Real slim. And actually worries me because you need change. Can't just do the same old thing. I think it's going to be different this time. I'd love Ben Johnson, though. I would love Ben Johnson. All right, let's get to our final segment on today's Cowboys Report. The Cowboys have gotten their butts kicked 3 times in a row by San Francisco. If you want the Cowboys to actually beat the 49ers break the curse, so to speak, then like today's video right now. I think we need at least 2,000 or 3,000 likes, which is going to be very doable because there will be about 10x of people who watch the show. Like the video for me if you want the Cowboys to win this week against San Francisco. The Cowboys at 3-3 and one of the worst 500 teams in football, or around 500 teams in football, are only 5.5-point dogs against San Francisco. That is a lower line than what it was before this past Sunday. Niners lost Brandon Ayuk for the year. They lost to the Chiefs. They were 7-point favorites. That line has moved down to 5.5. Still feels low, right? Dallas's scoring offense is number 20 right now in football. This is pre-Monday Night Football stats, by the way. Bottom 2 defense in football. The Niners' defense is right about league average, and the scoring offense is top 10. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have great confidence in this particular game. The one thing that might give you some hope, and maybe it is hopium in the end, are injury stuff. Micah Parsons has a chance to play. He is not guaranteeing his return. He is not a lock, but he has a chance to kind of miss only about 3.5 weeks with that high ankle sprain. I do think you'll get Daron Bland back. He was a little sore last Friday. Didn't play against the Lions. Should be good to go this week in theory. We'll see about Eric Kendricks. I think you need him out there because Shan's going to do all kinds of motion and play action and try to confuse your linebackers. You need a good veteran piece out there. In theory, Tyler Guyton is also healthy after his knee issue. We talked about it earlier, like last week, I should say, of, was it a convenient injury excuse or was he actually hurt? Still TBD, but I think there's a good chance he plays this week. Zach Martin, I am worried about his back. He looked terrible against Detroit. That was like the worst I've ever seen him play. We'll see if he's okay or not. But I hope he's just not on the practice report and he just gets the full week of health for his back, which I am a bit worried about there. The Niners, meanwhile, super banged up. Brandon Ayuk out for the year. Torn ACL for the Niners, recently paid wide receiver. He is not going to be able to go, which is going to mean more, in theory, Jawan Jennings. Now, Jennings has battled a hip injury. He should be able to play. I think he'll be back this week, but it's certainly worth monitoring. No guarantee there. Debo basically didn't play against the Chiefs, so it was Jacob Cowing, Ricky Pearsall. I think Ronnie Bell played a bunch too. In theory, the illness is over, and he'll be back out there this week, which they're healthier wide receiver, what they are down Ayuk. That is a big deal. Both kickers are on IR because they lost Jake Moody, then they lost Matthew Wright, and they tried Anders Carlson, who I think got Nepo-babied or Nepo-brothered into being in the NFL. His brother's a good kicker. He's not. He missed some kicks in that loss against the Chiefs. Yeah, the kicking advantage there. And does not sound like Christian McCaffrey will play. Niners kind of aiming more for after the bye, even though the Niners want to win their Super Bowl narrative was back, and some were convinced that he was going to play against the Cowboys. I never bought it. So that sounds like that's not going to be the case either. So who you got in this one? Keys to victory coming up next. C for the Cowboys, 4 for the 49ers. It's the pinned comment on today's show, so if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know, C or 4. Speaking of 4, key to victory number 1 is the quarterback shows up and plays a bit like a superhuman that you're going to need to have him to win this game. But we can call it what it is. You have to count an inordinate amount on the Cowboys franchise QB. So far this year, I don't think he's played that great. His numbers look kind of similar to pre-bye last year. There's a lot of things that are wrong with the offense overall, but I don't think Dak has played great. I am hopeful things will be better post-bye, but I am not excited about playing the 49ers. And in fact, when people get mad about Dak's playoff numbers and playoff results outside of the win-loss, which he can control 50% at most, the downside here is he's actually been bad against San Francisco in the postseason. Outside of the slow starts, which are also valid, when people don't like the playoff Dak, what they're really talking about is the San Francisco games. Because outside of those 2 games, he's played pretty well. He's actually been a pretty solid quarterback in the playoffs. Slow starts are included as an issue there, but he's been good versus bad. The last 3 games against San Francisco, it's been really bad. Now, we can do the whole, it's not all the quarterback's fault stuff. That's fine. Whatever. The quarterback gets blamed there. He has to be better. And with a banged-up Niners team coming off the bye, this is your chance. But I still have my doubts about the everything else around him beyond CeeDee Lamb being good enough, which we'll get into here in just a second. But first, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It is available in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, Texas. They invented the Flex Play as well, which means if you get one of your picks wrong, you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. I'm a huge fan of the Flex Play. I also love their little free squares, I call them. Anthony Edwards, a half point in the season opener. Come on, that's so easy. I'll ride my boy Chugs' picks here as well. Alperen Şengün, more than 30.5 points. Jalen Green, more than 21 points. All those, I kind of like that one. Do the Flex Play there if you need to as well. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. So download the app today at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Key victory number 2, and this goes for the coaching staff in particular. It's especially true playing the Niners defense. But how many times have we said, boy, it just looks like everything's challenging out there to move the ball on offense. You've got to find a way to be able to move the ball efficiently on offense and or get some chunk plays. You have to be able to scheme guys open. Mike McCarthy, you have to do this. I think your quarterback in general is kind of a fan of the stop routes. I don't care. Stop calling so many of them. Get guys in motion. Get guys over the middle. Do your deep dig. Do your crossers. Do more of the creative stuff, cheat motion, to make it a little bit easier. Because the Niners can sit on your routes. They don't fear you. They did it the last time. They sat on every single route. The last 2 times they have played. Do a sluggo one time. One time. I've asked that for 5 straight years. Do it once. It's not just Lamb who you got to scheme some stuff for. You can scheme stuff for Turpin. I'd say for Ferguson, but I think he's not 100%. He's kind of lost some speed with the injuries, and I don't like where things are at there. But you've got to make it easier on your team. The ground game has to be better. Make life easier on your defense. Don't put yourself in 3rd and 8 every drive, because that's not going to work. You get a bunch of 3rd downs, going to be 50% in the NFL. 50% is best 3rd down rate in the NFL, which means every one you're failing. Got to avoid 3rd downs. Get some damn easy buttons. Now, which side of the ball do you trust more this week? O for offense, D for defense. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Number 3, this has been on here every single week, and why wouldn't it be? Stop the run. Cowboys' run defense is bad. They are 26th in yards per game. He is 16th in yards per carry. They are dead last in EPA per carry, so they've allowed some big plays. They're dead last in stuff rate. They're actually 13th in yards before contact, but 26th in yards after contact. They face more outside runs than any team in the NFL, and they stack boxes at a very high rate because what teams have realized, if you do the Niners style of ground game against Dallas, good things happen. Look at that. The inside runs, outside runs, light boxes, stop boxes, they match the Niners ground game. They match it. They don't run the ball inside much. A lot of outside zone. They don't face a lot of light box, a lot of stack box. They use 2 tight ends and fullbacks and stuff, so they load the box up. That's how they do it on offense. And they're a top 10 ground game. I said it last week. I'll say it again. If you can't stop Jordan Mason, it doesn't matter what Brock Purdy does. He'll hit 5 play action shots against you over the middle, and you're cooked. If you can't stop the run, you're in very real trouble. So give me your score predictions between the Cowboys and the 49ers. Real, honest answers for them. We'll get to mine at the end of today's show, by the way. Number 4, you got to win the turnover battle, which you haven't really done this year because your quarterback's turned it over too many times, and your defense has not forced any real turnovers at all. In fact, you are -6 in the turnover differential. Mike Anderson will make a big deal about that. It's tough to win games when you're turning it over at that rate. You're kind of playing this bend but don't break style of defense, and you're kind of breaking a lot. Your league average in sack rate and pressure rate, but 6 sacks, 25 pressures came in week 1. You've been pretty bad after that. You don't stop the run at all. You're dead last in tackles for lost yardage or no yards. You've got 4 interceptions this year. You're tied for 18th. And 30th in fumbles. It's not good. Brock Purdy will turn the ball over. He will make those, I call it Iowa State Purdy. You know what I'm talking about, like what are you doing, Brock plays. And I'll make a bunch of good ones too, so it kind of evens out. But I think that the Ravens laid out the playbook last year. It's a different Niners team. I do want to acknowledge that. The Ravens kind of went into you know what? San Francisco is going to get some of theirs. They're going to get theirs. We got to get ours. You got to force some takeaways, force some explosive plays, force some big negative plays against this Niners offense. If you don't do that, they will Shanahan their way for 5-6 yards of play, and you're going to be in big trouble. Now, we will be live extra early for the Cowboys and the 49ers game. 6:45 p.m. Eastern Time is when our stream starts, with kickoff set for 8:20. So don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now. Final key to victory. Big Mike, you need to play the Nobody Believes in Us card. You should be on the phone last week with Kirby Smart, because I don't know how he does it, but nobody plays the Nobody Believes in Us card quite like Kirby Smart does. He played it when they were the defending champions, and got his players think that media thought they were going to go 6-6, which is insane. So, Big Mike, what I am about to say is going to be a chance for you to I'll pause, clip it, and play it for your players if you need to. The 49ers own you. The Dallas Cowboys suck against San Francisco. Now, this is Dallas's best chance to beat the 49ers. They're banged up. They're not playing that great. They're coming off a loss. And yet the fans want to super sim this game. I am not looking forward to Sunday Night Football because I don't think it's going to go well. Nobody thinks you can win this game. People are asking, why even show up? Why even play? You're going to get your butts kicked again. I've got the Niners winning 30-16. Blowout win, cover the spread, more embarrassment for your franchise, more negative media, more Jerry fighting with the 105.3, the fan people. I have no faith until I see it with my own eyes that this Cowboys team can actually beat San Francisco. There you go, Mike. Clip and play it. They can all hate me if they want to. I don't care. If it gets wins, I don't care. I don't care. All right, will Dallas make a trade before the NFL trade deadline? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Get those votes in, 1 or 0. Then we'll get to some super chats that came in as well. 70% voting no, which is probably about what the yes and no's are on the will they win the game anyway. So, all right, Dwayne Jackson, $5. If the Cowboys get blown out again in 2 out of 3 games, will Jerry Jones be forced to make a move at head coach? Can't force Jerry to do anything, but that might be enough. Now, I'm looking at a couple different moments here of when the Cowboys could make a decision. Prime time against the Niners, I don't think they'd do it if they lost. But then you've got the Eagles and or the Falcons and Eagles. With then you don't play till Monday Night Football against Houston. So you have extra time if you wanted to make the change then. So you could do it maybe after the Eagles game. Now, I would like to say you do it after the Commanders game. If you lose to Dan Quinn, Jerry's going to be mad, but that is a short turnaround because then you're back at home against the Giants. If you lose against the Giants on Thanksgiving, if you keep losing all these games, or if you're sitting there with 3 or 4 wins after November, you might consider it. I will say I would be surprised if they did until they were officially eliminated. But if the vibes stay bad, he might do it. Mark, we have to lose. Bad to have any chance for your mentality unless one is fine with the good records and fail versus better teams in the playoffs. Yeah. I will say, again, if when you fire Mike or invite him not to return, you need real change. Entrepreneur, let Dak deal. Seeing some of the analysis videos on the Cowboys offense, seems like our issues are caused by the O-line getting pushed around. I think it is very clear that everyone does not trust the offensive line. The backs don't trust it. The quarterback does not trust it. The play callers don't trust it. The biggest argument for the offense will be better this year was the O-line was going to play better. That they were going to show growth as the year went on, and they were going to play better down the stretch. Hopefully that still happens. That Lions game was bad, man. That was the worst I'd see the offensive line play in about 4 or 5 years. It was that bad. It was Chaz Green-esque. They just couldn't do anything. They're getting hammered by stunts. Just getting absolutely smoked by them. What are you going to do? There's a lot of issues there. Mark, can Dak ask for a trade and it won't kill our cap? Let me pull up the exact numbers here so I don't talk out of my butt. Trade is a lot easier than a cut. Yeah, you can do it. You probably can't do it until after next year if you wanted to, but it does become doable as currently constructed. That will ebb and flow based on when you restructure his base side, but until you do it before trade. So you can do it down the line. Not right now, though. Mark, most of those good stats come from lame teams. Tampa Bay seat. Here's my issue with this. I simply cannot ever get on board with the idea that playoff wins actually aren't good. That playoff games, those games don't count. They're playoff games. If those games don't count, what are we doing? We can't just say it's only the top 5 teams that you play count against. No, every game matters. Now, the Niners games have killed you. Those really suck. But I can't sit up there and say, yeah, he's played good in 5 playoff games, but, 3 of those teams were bad, so it doesn't count. It's a playoff game. Well, then we're on the road. No, I'm just not. I just refuse to acknowledge it. I do like this one from Mark that we spot on. You know what sucks, Tom? If we signed Dak and CD early, didn't waste money on Cook and Zeke, we could have afforded Henry easily. Jerry's a moron. You had money before you paid those guys to make that deal happen. They just told you that they didn't because they were lying. They didn't want to spend money. Not that they couldn't spend money. They didn't want to. It's very frustrating to me. And I know you too, Mark. Chris B, until they prove it. Niners 37, Dallas 17. No faith. Yep, I have no faith. Why? Prove it. Prove you can stop a ground game. That's what I want to see. All right, the live schedule this week. Thursday, back live, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday Night Football, 6:45 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now.